10 months into the deadly civil war in Sudan, the U.S. State Department has appointed a new special envoy to push for an end to the conflict and address the humanitarian crisis. The announcement comes days after the UN released a report detailing the worsening situation in Sudan. According to the report, more than 12,000 civilians have been killed since the start of the conflict, a number that is likely underreported. 6.7 million people have been displaced, at least half of whom are children. More than half the population is experiencing food insecurity, with more than 6 million facing famine. Cameron Hudson joins me now. He's a senior associate of the Africa program at the Center for Strategic and International Studies. He also served as chief of staff to the U.S. Special Envoy to Sudan during past conflicts in the country. Thanks again for being with us. When you were last on, you explained what the war was about, but that was many months ago. So remind us again, what is this conflict about?
Well, it's about the breakdown of Sudan's security services between the National Army and a militia group that was formed over a decade ago to fight the war in Darfur, the genocide in Darfur that happened in the early 2000s. And since that time, that militia group has grown only more powerful and actually become a rival to the National Army. And so when efforts were made beginning last year to try to integrate these two armies, there was essentially a falling out between the generals and their forces, leading to what has now become a civil war that started in the capital, Sudan, but now engulfs the entire country.
Last November, The Economist listed among the horrible afflictions facing Sudan, quote, the wider world's utter indifference. Do you share, or give me your sense of that characterization and what accounts for that indifference?
Well, I think that's fair. The United Nations has a $4.2 billion request for humanitarian assistance out. It is at 4% funded right now, 10 months into this conflict. You rattled off some of the very stark humanitarian numbers. Those needs are simply not being met. Obviously, there are many other crises going on in the world today, from Ukraine to Gaza. And so there's a competition for those resources right now. I think the other part of this is Sudan has known conflict for the better part of its history, since independence in the 1960s. And so I think there's also some degree of fatigue within the international community that we have gone back and forth with humanitarian assistance to Sudan, and it's never really solved the core fundamental problems that plague the country.
Cameron, help people understand what some of the broader geopolitical implications of this humanitarian disaster, and if there isn't an end to this war found, what would happen?
Well, you're looking at possibly the dissolution of the Sudanese state, not unlike what we've seen in Somalia or in Libya in past decades. Except this would be, I think, far more dangerous. Sudan is a country 5 times the size of Libya, 50 million people. It has a coastline along the Red Sea of more than 600 miles just across the Red Sea from Saudi Arabia and Yemen, areas of ongoing concern right now in the Red Sea. So, and then you've got, of course, Russia, which has been trying to gain a foothold on the Red Sea, create a naval base for itself. It has deployed Wagner mercenaries to the conflict in Sudan. So you're seeing a real competition among great and middle-sized powers with the Saudis and Emiratis, the Turks, the Qataris, a whole host of actors taking sides in this conflict. It could become an African world war as long as it continues to go on.
Give us a sense of the diplomatic attempts that have failed so far to try to come up with some kind of resolution.
Well, here I think the challenge has been that there have been a multitude of diplomatic attempts. None have been overwhelming in being able to both bring the parties to the negotiating table, but also impose some consequences for their actions, for the human rights abuses and the attacks on civilians and the blockade of humanitarian assistance that both sides have committed. And so I think part of the challenge is here you have the region trying to mediate, you have the African Union trying to mediate, you have now the United Nations trying to mediate, and then a whole host of bilateral mediators who are kind of parachuting into this conflict. So essentially we need a mediator for all these mediators. Right. And the parties have used this as an opportunity to split these mediations to, continue to find room to maneuver and to continue the fighting.
And briefly, Cameron, before I lose you, what will the new U.S. envoy be able to do? Where are your expectations set about What can be done?
Well, he really needs to come out of the gate with the full understanding and demonstration that the president and the secretary of state are backing his efforts. That this has the highest level of priority that Washington can bring to this problem. But really, he's going to have very little in terms of leverage. Washington has seen its leverage in Sudan decline significantly over the years. It's really going to be the bully pulpit of beating this drum on human rights and humanitarian assistance.
Cameron Hudson, Senior Associate at the Center for Strategic and International Studies. Thanks so much.